All right, welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Run for Covers. This is the video series where I talk about the theme months, those topic runs of covers where, Marvel and DC would kind of pick a subject and they'd kind of run through a number of their own titles covering that same kind of like theme, like vampires or the Women of Marvel that I covered the last couple of weeks, and this week's topic as well. Hopefully you're enjoying this series as well as all the other content here on the channel. Let me know what you think in the comments. Like, subscribe, hit the alert button so you don't miss anything. Keep telling your friends so we can keep growing the channel and keep moving on towards newer milestones so I can do some more giveaways and give some fun stuff away to all you loyal viewers out there. I do appreciate everybody out there, and glad some people are enjoying this content because I'm having a heck of a good time doing it. That all being said, I do have a fun little run of covers. Hopefully my little accoutrement here next to me hasn't given it away already, but just hang on for a few seconds after the intro, and we're going to get into this week's topic. All right, so as I kind of teased there in the opening, I do have these two books here next to me, which might have given away what the topic's going to be for this week. But this week, we are going to be looking at those manga Marvel books, the anime kind of style art. A lot of these manga artists were brought in, much like the Women of Marvel that we just did from 2015, where all the artists were the women artists of Marvel at the time. This time out, Marvel had brought in all of these very popular manga artists to do covers of many of their titles. I think there's 20 titles in this run. While I did use this Marvel Mangaverse logo, there is no logo on these covers, so there's no way to denote that these issues that I'm about to present you were all part of this same kind of run outside of it's the list that I'm giving you. So there's no little stamp or badge on the front that some of these cover runs have where you're like, oh, like the Women of Marvel from 2010, there was that little Women of Marvel logo that made them easily identifiable. That isn't the case this time out either. They didn't always do that. They've been doing that more in recent years, but not so much back in those earlier days back. And in this case, 2015, they ran through about 20 titles, as I'm about to get to. And I think they were in the months of like August and September of 2015 is when we're seeing most of these books that are popping up. And again, most of these books are from that Secret Wars time frame. So these are a lot of those, the Secret Wars, like the Battle Worlds, like those little type of minis. A lot of these books are from those little minis, like those little 4 to 5 issue miniseries. A lot of these titles are. So keep that in mind as well as we go through this list. If you're curious about what volume or what series this is for, these are all mostly, I should say, the Secret Wars minis. And you'll see that little badge and stamp on some of these covers like you might see here on this Ms. Marvel one that I got next to me. That all being said, let's not waste any more time with the pleasantries and introductions, and let's just get right into the list. And our first book, as we're going to start off with, is A-Force, number 4. Pretty cool She-Hulk cover. She's coming right at you there. Again, you can see right at the top, Secret Wars. A lot of these are from those little Secret Wars minis, so that's where you're going to be kind of digging for these if you can go out there and dig. These are not incentive covers. These are variants, but these, I don't know if these were they're probably qualifying variants, but I don't know what the qualifications were or how shops got to order them, but they weren't everywhere, so some of these can be kind of tough. And you'll see that reflected in some of the prices. Not all, but some of the prices. And again, I'm going to give you some asking prices. I'm going to give you some recent sale prices just for you to make your own decisions of what you would like to do if you're interested in any of these books. I'm not going to tell you what to do. I'm just giving this information just for you to, to play with and have some fun if you want to go out there hunting and collecting. So you know what you're going to ballpark, budget yourself for if you go hunting some of these books. Because this one in particular actually is a little bit on the pricier side, surprisingly. But I'm going to butcher a lot of these names because, as I said, these are manga artists. So a lot of their names are Japanese, and I just don't have the palette for that. I don't have the patois. What is it? I don't know. I just don't got it. But I'll do my best. And this one is Toshiro Chiba, I guess. Toshiro Chiba. Close enough, hopefully. Again, I'm not looking to offend anyone. I just don't know the proper way to pronounce these names. So I'm just going to do the best I can. But this cover is one of those pricier ones. When you look at what's available right now, $30 to $100. Yeah, so the basement on this one's $30. And again, this is not an incentive. This is just a variant, almost like a B cover, C cover, or whatever. I mean, even if you look at the barcode number, it's 421. So this is basically the B cover for this issue. not an incentive. It's not a qualifying. I mean, it's probably a qualifying variant of how they got to order them, but a lot of shops probably qualified because, I mean, if this is all tied into Secret Wars, a lot of shops just ordered everything Secret Wars. So still remains to be seen how many copies are actually out there. So I'm not giving you any print run numbers. That's not what we're doing on Run for Covers. I'm just going to give you the covers and a little bit of the pricing info, like the recently sold prices, which in this case, we can see that a best offer on $40 and then one sold for $27. And that best offer accepted $35. Both of those sales in early mid-November. So you can see, all right, it's not quite that $100 mark, that high mark we saw on the asking prices, but it is definitely at that floor. So this is not going to be a book that's, I mean, if you do find it for cheap, you automatically have a pretty high floor. You're pretty much a $30 book at least when we look at these prices. Now, the next book is probably one of my favorites, if not my favorite. I mean, my two favorites are probably next to me because those are the two that I have, and those are the two that I went out and made sure that I procured for myself. And the top one being this Hawkeye variant. I do like this Kate Bishop cover. I don't know. There's something pretty cool about it. It just seems classic anime manga style to me, so I really dig it personally. This price is kind of going on a little bit of high and a little bit of dips, like when you look at it. Like this thing was $100 plus at one time, but I think it's dipped kind of back down into more of a $50 range. But still a pretty cool cover to go looking for. This is Chika Okagi, if I'm saying that right. Available copies on this, as I was trying to get to, anywhere from 45 to 75 to 125. So you can see there are some higher asking prices still out there, but there are still some cheaper copies. Now, some of these cheaper copies might not be in the greatest of shape. I did find a couple of these myself, but this white cover is kind of tough to keep in high grade. It collects dirt pretty easily, so it could use even this copy I got next to me could use a cleaning right here near the staple. No real bad ticks or anything like that, but just that white cover just seems to attract dirt and just dust and things like that, and you just gotta get that cleaned up if you want to go for those higher grades, I guess. But you can see this one is definitely on one of the pricier ones on our list. And if you want to see what this actually sells for to kind of check if those prices are valid, well, 35 to 40 is still pretty solid. Both of these sales are under the bottom price that I showed you on the available copies, but not by much. And one of those, the $40 was in December 2nd. Actually, both of these were December 2nd. So these are both pretty recent sales within the last few days of me doing this video. So keep that in mind if you go out there hunting. This is going to be one of the tougher ones because I think it's definitely one of the more popular ones and has been for a little while. And now, especially with Hawkeye, up and running right now with Kate Bishop. So now is probably not the time to buy unless you can find like a cheap copy that you don't mind. If you don't mind spending like 30, 40 bucks, go ahead, have at it. I think this is probably a solid price for that. I don't think this is going to be a cheap book below that just because of the nature of it. It's pretty unique and I think it's pretty cool. So I wouldn't kill myself if I paid that much. I wouldn't be kicking myself, I should say, too much if I paid 30 bucks for something like this. But again, see what you can find out there and make that call on your own. Moving on to our next book, we're going with The Last Days of Ant-Man, number 3. Now, this one doesn't scream, an anime cover to me personally, but when you kind of look in a little bit closer and you look at how the faces are drawn, you see it a little bit better. But like I said, gut instinct, when I see it, I didn't see it right away, but when you look at it in the finer details, you see some of those similar, the line work that you might see in a lot of manga, like art, in the way that the mouths are like kind of drawn with the simple lines, not a lot of cross-hatching bone structure kind of things. It gets more, a little bit of shading and just a little bit of speed lines and things like that. And I don't know, but you can take a look at this, in more depth if you can come across one. This one actually isn't that bad, and this cover is by Q Hayashida, if I'm saying it right. And as I was getting to with the available copies, pretty cheap, $3 to $4. So this is basically cover if you can find it. So not too bad on this one. And there are a bunch of these like this that are like cover price or less. So you could build out much of this run pretty cheaply if you really wanted to start. Just throwing that out there. Again, 20 total, I think, in this run of covers. So keep that in mind as well. When we've already hit 2 that were a little bit pricey, 30, 40 bucks at the bottom. So it's nice to see that our next book here and a bunch of others are only going to be like cover or less. And if you want to see what this sells for, just to confirm those prices, yeah, you can see $4. October, one sold for. Which is going to take us to our next book. We're going to hit up Amazing Spider-Man, Renew Your Vows, This is the Renew Your Vows mini, issue 4 of that mini. You can, again, see that Secret Wars badge down below. So a lot of these are those Secret Wars minis. A pretty cool Spidey cover. You can see kind of like that lean, the action, the webbing almost gives you that speed line kind of vibe that you might see in a lot of anime and manga stuff. But this is Yusuke Murata, if I'm saying that properly. Available copies on this one are anywhere from $6 to like 10, 11. So not terrible. Not terrible. I mean, Spidey is going to get a little bit of a premium, but there probably are a few more copies to be had, so it might be a little easier. But still, it's not too bad to be paying just a buck, a couple bucks over a cover, really. And if you want to see what this actually sells for, well, copies have sold for as little as $4.63 and $6 in the last couple of months. So definitely not one of the pricier ones. One that you can probably again add on the cheaper side of things to start building out this run if you want to take on that that job, that undertaking. Our next book, Civil War, not the original Civil War. This is the Civil War that was part of, again, the Secret Wars mini. This is issue 3. Once again, first impulse doesn't read like a manga cover to me, but then when you look at it a little more closely and you see how the tech is kind of drawn and you look a little bit closer on Tony Stark's face and the bone structure of his face, you go, oh, I see it. That has that kind of like a Star Blazers kind of kind of vibe to it. And yeah, so you can see it if you look into it just a little bit closer than maybe in your first reactions. And this cover was done by, let's see if I can get this one, Kia Asamiya. Again, I'm going to butcher these. Available copies on this, $3 to $14. So, again, as low as like cover, do a little bit pricier, but there's cheap copies. So, it could be had on the cheaper side if you look. And if you want to see what it sold for, well, one sold in September for $4.63, one bid at auction. So, yeah, granted, that was from the UK with a high shipping cost, but I'm not going to factor that in. We're just looking at the sale price. $4.63 right now is what the sale was. And we're going to move on to our next book. Deadpool Secret Wars. Another Secret Wars mini. And this was, again, an issue 4. A lot of these are issue 3 and issue 4 of those minis. So issue 4 here, we see Deadpool all kind of twisted up and shoved in a garbage can. Again, doesn't scream a manga cover right away, but you look at the finer details and you can kind of see some of the way that it's built out, that it does kind of give you that kind of sense and that kind of vibe. And this one was done by, let's see, Yusuke Murata, and available copies on this, $5 to about $11. So again, a lot of these are going to be kind of in this range of like $5 to $10. So keep that in mind as we run through this. And sold copies on this were none. So no recent sales in the last 3 months on this Deadpool Secret Wars number 4. So kind of interesting. Again, a lot of these things that I'm looking at when I do these videos and the series, I'm looking at things that don't have a lot of recent sales because I'm looking for the things that a lot of people aren't looking at right now because I find that more interesting to kind of go digging into because that's where you can sometimes find some bargains and cheaper stuff. Like, don't go always chasing what's on the hot lists and the hot 10 lists, top 10 lists that a lot of channels and sites do. Even comicbookinvest.com, that I'm a writer for, we have our own hot 10 list. But if you're buying off of that list, it's already too late because those lists are built off of sales. So if you don't start buying at the prices you see for those hot books, I'm just saying, that's the best way the best advice I can give you to save yourself, some money. Yes, some books still get hotter, but most of the time that they show up on that list, that's usually a peak, and that's not when you want to buy. You don't want to buy on the peak. You want to buy on the valley. So look for things that aren't selling, and then that's where you're going to get your better deals. Moving on. PSA aside. Guardians of Nowhere, another Secret Wars mini. This is in issue 3. Pretty cool Venom cover. I like this. He's coming right at you. I mean, it's not a unique take, and again, one that you may not immediately say, well, it's a manga cover because it just looks like a lot of Venom covers where he's just coming right at you. But when you really dig into it and you kind of look at like the open spaces there with the coloring, this is definitely more purplish blue than you would say like black. So it's not in heavy shadow. There isn't a lot of a lot of cross hatching, that kind of thing that you might see in the more American style. So this is definitely a pretty cool image and one you can get for a decent price. I think this is kind of mid range on this. And this one was by Yoshihiro Naito. I don't know if I'm getting any of these right, but if any of you know and you want to make fun of me or correct me in the comments, feel free. I won't take offense because I don't know what I'm saying when I'm trying to read these. I'm just phonetically looking at them and doing my best to guess. And available copies on this one are $4 to about up to $25. So you can see, you can still get them cheap at cover, but then there are some higher asking prices out there. So some people are searching for a little bit more, but for the most part, there's still copies that could be had and scooped up for cover, sometimes less. So another one you can build towards building out that run, because again, like now we've gone through a few of these where you're basically paying cover. So that's not terrible, in my opinion. And if you want to see what this sells for, well, a copy sold for $4 back in October. So there you go. Taking us to our next book, Groot. Groot, that little I am Groot. Yeah, baby, yeah. This is what the badge reads down below underneath the Groot and Rocket there. This is issue 3 of this series. This doesn't have the Secret Wars badge, so this is just from the mini. I believe that was Groot's mini series. This was one of the variants. This was a cover done by Superlog, so it's pretty cool. Available copies on this one on the little bit pricier side, and considering the floor is $14 and the high is $17.17. And that $14 one is for issues 1 and 3 of the series. So you're actually getting 2 comics for that price. So you kind of have to factor that into that as well. So it's still not that much when you really put that in the context that you're getting 2 comics for $14. So just saying. And if you want to price it out by looking at what actually sold, well, there were none. And again, I think we're going to get into a long stretch here of a lot of copies where there are no copies sold. So we're just going to keep moving on and see what else we have in this pile. Taking us to our next book, which is House of M. Yeah, this one is a little bit of a different take. The way the metal was layered on the legs of Iron Man there, it really had to make me double take it a little bit. But yeah, once you kind of dig in and look at some of the way that the faces of Cap, Thor, even Hulk in the background, you definitely see the manga inspiration. And more so than if you just look at Iron Man, which you're going to go, why does he look like he's a melting ice cream cone? It's just the way the armor was drawn with the kind of like a, I don't know, kind of that shell kind of a style where it's like layers on top of each other. And this is a Katsuya Terada cover. Available copies on this one are lowest $3, $10, $11. So $10.95. So familiar pricing. And yet when we see what actually sold, best offer on $5.60, and then another copy sold for $6.61, and that best offer accepted $4. So $4 to $6, you know, all intents and purposes, it's basically the same cover or a little bit, tiny bit more, tiny bit of a premium. Not too bad though. It's going to take us to our next book, Inhumans, Attilan Ryzen, and this is issue 4 of that Secret Wars miniseries. Again, many of them are from the minis, and you can see pretty cool, you know, Black Bolt giving you the shush sign. This cover was done by, let's see if I can get this one, Shigeto Koyama. Maybe I'm getting better. I don't know. It feels like I'm getting a little better. Moving on to available copies for this one. I kind of like also the little circular lines out. It gives you like a sense of his power. Yeah, with the, like, if he is giving you a little like that's enough to give you like those force waves. But again, still $3.89 to $10.99. So cover price to $10, $11. Familiar story here, right? And if we want to look at what's sold, that same familiar, none in the last 3 months. So copies can be found out there. Who knows? You might even be able to dig some of these out of your dollar bins if you go looking, because I know a lot of the Secret Wars stock has kind of been picked through because a couple of books heated up, but for the most part, Secret Wars, it was heavily printed, and there was a lot of overstock, at least in the shops near me where I saw them for a while. Not seeing them that much now, but there was a time where there was tons of this out there of these Secret Wars minis, and you can grab them for, you know, $2 or $1, depending on what how the store wanted to discount things. But just another thing to keep in mind for some of these, because again, while some of them are sought after, like the Hawkeye, some of them aren't, like you would say this Inhumans one isn't. And up next is another book that's sitting right here next to me. I actually had this book before, graded it out, got a 9.8, sold it, and then decided to buy it back again just this past week in me doing this list. As I was getting ready to do this list again, I was like, you know what, let me see if I can find a cheap copy. And I found one that was at a price that I didn't mind paying. So Ms. Marvel, number 18, also kind of tying into the stuff that Marco and I just did with our totally awesome coolest show ever that we do on Wednesdays, the live show where we just did a little tier battle between Ms. Marvel and Squirrel Girl. Also had Ms. Marvel kind of on, Kamala Khan on my brain at the time, so that's another reason why I went to look for this cover. But this is a really cool cover. The blue pops. I like the two of them together. You can definitely see the the anime manga style there in the art, and definitely a cool cover and one I would recommend going looking for. And this one is done by Retsu Tatio. Don't know if I got that one, but I'm doing my best. Available copies on this one, they hit a wide range. They can be as low as like $18.99, also accepting offers. So always try to, make an offer. You might be able to save yourself a couple of bucks. And they can go 30 or up to 50. So this is one that gets on that pricier side of the grouping. But I think it's because of the subject. It's a popular character people looking forward to, as well as it is a pretty nice cover and one of my favorites as well. Like I said, it's probably between these two out of this run for me. And if we want to see what the sold copies are, well, this thing again could sell for $20, or look, one at auction, $4.25. You can still get these things cheap if you're patient and you look. And then another one straight up, $32. So it can get pricey too. So it depends on what's out there at the time you're looking. Could be pricey, could go for cheap. Who knows? Do your best to obtain it at a price that you're comfortable with. That's all that matters. It's what you're comfortable with. Doesn't matter about other sale prices unless you're looking to resell it. And that's not what I'm trying to do here. I'm not trying to promote any of these books to be flipped or even like strong investments. I'm just saying this is kind of fun stuff that I like to collect. Who knows down the line what might become collectible? So yes, some of these books might have some investment potential. Especially when you're talking about characters that have some, adaptations and things coming with Disney Plus shows and movies. Yes, interest will come. Books will probably rise at some point or another, and you can play the game of, buying and selling at the highs and lows and doing the roller coaster if you want. All I'm trying to do is what I do for myself, which is try to collect on the lows because I'm a cheap comic book hunter. I am. I don't have an unlimited budget to spend on comics, so I try to get the most bang for my buck by finding the best deals that I possibly can and still get the books that I want. So sometimes you got to make that call because not everything can be found for cheap. Sometimes you got to get lucky, and sometimes you just got to go, you know what? This might be the lowest I'm going to get this for a while, so now might be the time to act. So these are the kind of things you need to weigh when you're looking at these pending purchases. Moving on. Old Man Logan. I kind of dig this one. Issue 4, again, Secret Wars miniseries, not from that full Old Man Logan run. This is just the mini. But yeah, I don't know. Something pretty cool about this one, especially with X-23 behind him. Definitely has that manga style. You can see it in their faces, how it's drawn. Definitely pretty cool, if you ask me. And this is one I do not have, but I'll keep an eye out for this Homare, if I'm saying the name right, cover. That's what it looks like the artist was on this one. Available copies. $10 to $26. So a little pricier, a little bit higher floor. But who knows? Still keep an eye out. You could find it for cheap. Like we see here in some of the sold copies, which we have a best offer on 15, which they took $12.50. All right. So not super duper cheap, but not terrible. Not terrible. $12.50 for, again, I know it's only a B cover. It's not an incentive, but still, some of these are pretty tough to obtain. And we are going to move on to our next book, which is Planet Hulk, number 4. Again, this one is under Secret Wars title, Secret Wars Mini, issue 4. As I said, a lot of issue 3s and issue 4s in this. This definitely has a cartoony style to it, especially when you look in the background of the detailing Hulk growing and jumping into the sky, coming down back at you and hitting the ground, even down below. Definitely see the, I wouldn't want to say inspiration because these are manga artists, so I shouldn't say inspiration. But this is Hiroyuki Imaishi, I'm saying it right, cover with available copies. There was one for $10.99. So, all right, not terrible, but there's only one out there. That was I couldn't get your range on this one. I can only find one. So this one's a little bit tougher to, I think, to find just because it's different. It's definitely different looking. The yellows and the greens really make this a bright cover that kind of jump out at you from a pile. So probably drew a lot of eyes when it came out. So finding it now in the back market, it might be a little bit tougher. And recently sold, there are none. So one copy out there, none sold. Looks to be on the tougher side. Definitely to be on the tougher side. Spider Island, number 3. So another Secret Wars mini, issue 3, Spider Island. Definitely pretty cool. I like the way that the cityscape, the perspective on this one. It doesn't immediately scream that it's a manga book, but when you look again, the finer details, you see it a little bit better. You get like a Ghost in the Shell kind of vibe. Even though you're not seeing the face drawn. That's usually the easiest way to tell is how the faces are drawn, at least for me, in telling where the style of the art. But here with Spidey having the full mask, you don't get that the benefit of that. So you can still kind of see it if you look again at the finer details, the inspiration at least. But this is a Yusuke Murata cover. I'm not sure if this is a name we've said before. Seems familiar, but available copies on it. Only one, $7 or best offer. Well, you can make an offer, so maybe you get it for cover. Recently sold on this was once again none. So familiar story for a lot of these. Silk, number 7. Silk is another character. We might actually be doing this on this week's Totally Awesome Coolest Show Ever. So keep an eye on the channel for Wednesday, where Marco and I might be doing a little battle between Korean Marvel heroes. We might be pitting Silk against Brawn, Totally Awesome Hulk. So keep that in mind. It should be a fun show. But this Silk book, I think, is one of the pricier ones as well. The cover artist on this one is Guri Hiru, who is an artist who we saw on the Marvel Women of Marvel last month. She did a cover there. So it is a familiar artist for this time period in Marvel. Available copies on this. Well, like I said, a little pricier, $45, $70, $75. So $45 to $75. It's a little steeper. I dig it. I kind of like it with the billboard and the doves, or pigeons, I guess. I shouldn't say doves. They're pigeons. Definitely cooler, but yeah, I don't know. It's a steep price, though. I don't know if I could be buying in at that price. But you never know. Maybe you can find one. Find one for cheap. Recently sold copies. See, there was a best offer on a $70 ask and one that's sold at auction for $30. And that best offer accepted $32.99. So that was a deep discount off of that $70 ask. But still, $33 to $30 is still no tiny number for this basically a B cover. But keep that in mind. This is, again, one of the pricier ones. And he's a contender. Might be top 3. This might be 3rd in my favorite covers. And, of course, I like all the expensive ones. But I think that's why they're expensive. I think a lot of people like the expensive ones, which is why they become expensive. Taking us to our next book, Squadron Sinister. Again, another one that doesn't really scream like a manga title until you kind of look at the way that they're posed and grouping, and you get, again, like that Battle of the Planets, kind of a Voltron team-up kind of vibe going there. But Squadron Sinister, a Secret Wars mini, issue 3. Again, familiar. The name, Takeshi Miyazawa. So I know that's a familiar name, too. I don't know why I know that name. Available copies. This one's really cheap, as low as $2. $2, $5, $11. So 2 to 11, but a lot of $2 out there. So this is half cover. This is a cheap book if you want to go find this one. And recently sold, none. So even at $2, none of these are moving. So keep that in mind as well. Our next book, we have Thors, number 3. Secret Wars mini, issue 3. Thors, little Throg there. You got Loki and Thor behind him. You kind of get like an Animal Crossing kind of vibe out of this one with the art. That's kind of what I'm seeing. Definitely more kiddie, I guess, on the more childish side. Ryo Moto was the artist. Available copies on this one. Well, this one will be had for as $4, $6, $11. So covered to 11. Familiar price range as some of the others we've seen before. And sold listings, one sold for $3.90. So cover price, basically. These are all $3.99 covers. So $4 is $4. Whether you paid for it in 2015 or you paid for it now, price really hasn't changed much on a lot of these. Coming near the end here, we have Ultimate End. Pretty cool Doctor Strange cover. Again, this one, I wouldn't immediately pick this out as a manga cover, but it's part of the run. And this was done by Karamomi Shirihama. I don't know if I got that right, but that's what we're going with. Pretty cool cover. I do like it. It's a pretty cool Doctor Strange. I like the inky black in the back, juxtaposed against like the white. It almost seems like a lightning power kind of emanating off of them. And then you got all the logos and symbols down below. So it's a cool layout. I definitely kind of like that. But available copies on this issue 4 of Ultimate End. $7 to $14. So a little over cover and up to 14. Again, not terrible, but not the cheapest, but definitely not the most expensive either. And then sold copies, best offer on 480 where they accepted $4. So they still ended up selling for cover. Familiar story, as I said. I think second to last, our penultimate issue in the run, Weird World. Yeah, pretty cool. I like Weird World. The Del Mundo art inside was really, really good. I did like this title. Issue 4 of this run, Secret Wars. Again, Secret Wars mini. This was a cover done by J.M. Ken Naimura. I don't know, there's 2 eyes. Don't know how to really do the 2 eyes, but yeah, there it is. Available copies on this one, $3.70, $6, $13. All right, so again, cover to like a little over $10. Very familiar story for many of these. And there was a copy that sold for $3.70, which is basically cover. So as I said, a good bit of this run is cover price, but then there are those few that do demand a little bit of a premium, like our final installment, which is one I do not have. And when I did see it, I was like, oh man, I do want this one. So this one actually might beat out Silk for the top 3. This one might sneak into the top 3 and might even bypass these 2 in my mind. And this is X-Men 92, issue 3 from the Secret Wars run. Gambit, Jubilee. Yes, it's the bubblegum cover. If you're one of those collectors who like to collect those bubblegum covers. But this is Sana Takeda, says Montress. I do like her art. I like her style. I do like this cover. Wouldn't mind picking this one up, but this one actually is a little bit pricey, so I'll have to keep my eye out, see if I can find a cheap copy. But available copies right now, 50, 90, 130. And these aren't the only copies out there. This is just kind of me picking out a few to give you like kind of like tier levels of ranges of some of these books. And like lower end is $50. Higher end's like $130. But there's a lot in that mid range, and then you're hitting like 90. So yeah, this one is a pricier one, and it's probably because of you bubblegum collectors driving this one up. But I don't know, it could be Gambit collectors too, I guess. But I like it. But I like it for the art. I like the artist. I like Sana Takeda personally. And if you want to see what this one actually sells for, well, there was one that was selling for $40 that accepted a best offer, and they accepted $34, which I don't know. After I see some of these $100 asking prices, I might swing a $34 offer. I might be able to deal with that right now if I find a copy. I don't know. That's definitely on the higher end of what I might want to pay for something like this. But as I said, sometimes you got to make that call for yourself. This is a book that I really do like, and if I were to pay that, I wouldn't be kicking myself too much later, even if the price drops. Because you know what? To me, that seems like, by comparison to what's out there, a price that I'd be willing to pay. But again, that's my call. You make your own call based on this pricing information, on the covers that you like, the artists that you like, the subjects, the characters, whatever it is that makes you a collector, and collect the things that you want to collect. Don't let anybody else tell you what to buy or tell you how to spend your money, because it's your money after all. I'm just trying to help you out and tell you, don't get caught up in the FOMO. That being said, hopefully you enjoyed this series as well as all the other stuff here. Thank you for stopping by. I appreciate you checking out the channel and checking out these runs of covers, because I like going through them. I really do. Even though I'm just sitting here by myself, I do like going through them because I'm looking at this stuff anyway, and I don't mind sharing some information with you guys who are interested and checking it out. So let me know what you think. Give me some more suggestions of things you want to see. I appreciate you stopping by, checking things out. Stop by, check out the live shows on Wednesdays and Sundays here on Rennavision. We do have merch if you're interested in that kind of thing. And I'm going to try to look for more fun things for us to do here with the channel as we continue to grow. And hopefully you're more than welcome to come along for the ride, and hopefully you enjoy it. So I'll see you guys soon.